So tonight we're going to be looking at the recent, what we'll call a showdown between Neil deGrasse Tyson and Ben Shapiro. It's kind of a clash of different worlds there. You've got what I call the establishment scientific community versus the fundamentalist religious right. And Ben Shapiro, of course, is as fundamentalist you can get with his little hat, and he refused to go to the gay wedding of a friend, so he is way over there. So it's going to be, I think, interesting to go through this. Now, I bring a different perspective because I'm neither on the left, nor am I on the right. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of go through this and sort of look at what they're talking about and maybe chime in where they're missing important things. So what we'll do is we will get straight into Shapiro and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's actually get to it here. I'm just going to pause this as we go along when there's things for me to comment on. And also, it should be noted here that I have three other commentators that I've brought into the discussion. One is, they're all the big YouTube commentators. One is Vaush. One is Kasparian from the Young Turks. And the other one is Kulinski from Secular Talk. So you're going to see their commentary as we go along here. So here we go.
Ben Shapiro had a conversation with Neil deGrasse Tyson about science. This time, the topic was specifically about transgender rights.
And again, you're going to hear some sort of third-party commentary here, separate from Shapiro and Tyson, because I wanted to sort of not only go over the actual little mini debate that the two had themselves, but I wanted to sort of bring in what sort of some of the top left-leaning YouTubers who sort of, I would say, reflect the intelligentsia, if you will, of the left and how they are sort of interpreting this. One is Vaush, one is Kasparian from the Young Turks, and the other one is Kulinski from Secular Talk. So you're going to see their commentary as we go along here. And because I am neither left nor right, I think I'm going to be able to sort of, again, talk about what I think they get right and what they get wrong. The real question for me from the beginning was, would Ben Shapiro get anything right? Because he's so radically politicized and far right that he's actually not as interested in facts as he pretends to be. But we'll get into that. So just so you know, you're going to see some other commentators, all sort of big names on YouTube. So this should be fun.
It seems like the left is militating against the advent of science.
Shapiro says the left is militating, interesting word, against science. And what he means is on this issue of transgenderism, the left is openly anti-science. That's sort of the point he's trying to make. I do find it hilarious, though, because put that point aside. I don't care whether you grant him that or don't grant him that. What the f does the right say on climate change? What does the right say on, or to be fair, what do some factions of the right say on vaccines? So for this is one of the main issues with Shapiro, is that he makes a comment like that, totally broad, sweeping generalization that's just wrong. The left is militating against science. Does everybody on the left take all of their beliefs from science? Of course not. But what a ridiculous broad generalization. The left is militating against science. He always tries to portray what he views as the other side in the most negative light possible.
Okay, so that's an interesting point, and I've talked a lot about this myself. My lighting is off, too. Hang on. Is that better? It's maybe a little better. Yeah, again, sorry. It's been a while since I've been on here, and they've changed the software on me, and I've changed some of the lighting around me and stuff, too, so I'm a little rough around the edges. But we'll get going here. But his point there is something that I've been talking about quite a bit recently, and got into a bit of a minor battle on the Exposing Soji Facebook group there. where I talked about how there is this tendency on both sides, actually, but is really prevalent on the right, this tendency to take the weakest arguments and the worst examples of the transgender community and to put them forward as sort of examples of the norm. So if you go into exposing Soji, which I'm becoming increasingly disenchanted with, you'll see them constantly posting. Recently, they had a video of what was clearly a psychologically disturbed couple who have a child and are transgender, okay? You can see here they've branded it the left's reality. So this isolated, rare example of what I believe to be a couple with mental health problems is now branded upon the entire left as the left's new reality. But they also use all of these other sort of constantly sort of hateful images of transgender people as perverts and pedophiles and just like over and over and over again. Now, I know some of the people associated with this group, and I'm not going to say that they're bad people. I think that they just don't think about the cumulative effect of what this constant barrage of negative imagery does, particularly when there is nothing counterbalancing it anywhere, except for perhaps my occasional comments. But some of the commentary on these images is, even worse than the images itself. So I'm hoping that this trend towards viciously demonizing transgender people is at some point going to stop. But this type of stuff and some of these sort of outrageous transgender people who have these extreme views and stuff, they're just like, they plaster them constantly, and what it does is it creates this false impression of the transgender community, which affects me and other people, because that's not the majority of the transgender population. Most transgender people just want to live their lives. There are sort of radical elements, and we'll get to that, but you can't keep sort of demonizing the transgender community by using these really vicious worst case examples as norms. I mean, what it reminds me of, quite honestly, is what happened in Nazi Germany and the way they demonized the Jews there with their posters and stuff. This is the same thing that we see happening now on the right with transgender people. They're always taking the worst possible images of what a transgender person is and plastering them all over the place. And that is not fair. And Kyle Kulinski has sort of tuned into this, and he's not gay, he's not part of the LGBT community or anything like that, but he's sort of tuned into that as well.
What a ridiculous broad generalization. The left is militating against science. He always tries to portray what he views as the other side in the most negative light possible. So he doesn't steelman them, he strawmans them. And then, of course, he does the reverse of that, too. He tries to make his side seem, nothing but reasonable.